Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. And seated at our table tonight, Allain C. Andry III, here to discuss his book, Louie the Buoy, which has inspired a Louisiana Philharmonic performance this weekend. We're very excited about that. Congratulations.
As am I, Peggy. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Poppy Tooker, host of the WWNO radio program, Louisiana Eats.
Hi,
Great to see you. Hello. Carnival historian, and many other things. Errol Laborde. Hello, Biggie.
And I've inspired nothing this weekend.
I would beg to differ.
Sorry.
An annual recap of the Carnival season. I would beg to differ. Anyway, and Steppin Out theater critic, Allain Smason, who is also the editor of the Crescent City Jewish News. But first up, Poppy.
Well, I'll tell you about some inspiration. I recently had what I think is some of the most inspired Japanese food that I've had quite in a long time. And this was at Lakeview Pearl Sushi and Asian Bistro. And what's really cool about it is that it is a Japanese restaurant with sushi and the typical things you expect to find, but they also have other Asian food. And I'll show you in just a minute. It's right there, you know, right at Harrison. And look at that. I eat this all the time. This is the squid steak seared with a butter soy sauce topped with sesame seeds. The best I've ever had. I loved it. And then there was a special roll that was served that day, and I'm a big salmon fan. This was a special salmon roll with a spicy salmon and avocado filling, fresh salmon on the outside topped with salmon roe. It was really good. And then surprisingly, it was a chilly afternoon, so the hot and sour soup that normally you never find, it's just that miso soup. Well, there's some delicious hot and sour soup. And this was the kicker, a hamachi kama, which is a grilled yellowtail collar served with a ponzu sauce. Only place I ever see fish collars is sometimes Tenny Flynn serves them at GW Finn's. Incredible. They're open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. I sat in a booth. It was sunny. I sat in the sunshine. It was divine. Then, more fun in the sun at Cleese's Crawfish on Bank Street. Now, I had heard about them, but I had never had a chance to try their crawfish. So now that crawfish are back, it's just this little joint right there.
It's a joint.
It's a little joint. The food is fabulous. The crawfish were perfectly seasoned. They were great big. And they also have jambalaya fried fish, meat pies. They're open every day from noon until basically the crawfish runs out. And so really a great place. You can get it to go or you can eat it there. Then, speaking of crawfish, tomorrow, if anybody's inspired to take a ride out into the country, I would head to Bayou Brewery. Tomorrow they're debuting their Saison des Crevettes. Now this is their special Saison ale that is designed to be eaten with crawfish. And they brought this out a couple of years ago, but they've tweaked it until it's an all-new recipe. Tomorrow afternoon at the brewery, that famous Hawk's crawfish will be doing the crawfish boil from the crawfish ponds right there at the brewery, and Louis Michaud and the Lost Bayou Ramblers are going to be playing. It's going to be a gorgeous day. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's about time somebody associated beer with crawfish. It's an idea whose time has come.
Thank you, Errol. I agree. Now, another idea that has just come, this has gone on in other parts of the country. There's an event that's happening next Friday called Nuit Belge. Belge is like Belgium, and it's like a night of Belgian beer. It's a fabulous thing that's going to happen at Generations Hall. VIP tickets include a party hosted by Blackberry Farms, Angeline Belize Boucherie, Cochon Butcher, Gotros, Milkfish, Mofo. There's 14 restaurants that are participating. Shia, Toops Meadery. There's going to be a raw bar provided by Murder Point Oyster Company, a chocolate tasting, beer and wine pairings from the famous Blackberry Farms in East Tennessee. That's a rare opportunity. You get a limited edition tasting glass and unlimited samples of food and beer. It's going to be a really great new event here in New Orleans.
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Poppy. I love your jacket. It's really beautiful. And moving on to Louie the Buoy, a very brave buoy. For those who have not had the chance to read your book now in its almost fifth printing.
Almost fifth printing, Peggy,
Give us
yes.
the quickie plot overview, even though I know that's hard to do, but it's beautiful
the
too.
Genesis of this book was that we had a home on the Gulf Coast. Hurricane Camille of 1969 came along. Our children were then 7, 8, and 9. We went back after the storm, one house gone, the other severely damaged. We're telling these children about the damage. All they wanted to know is what happened to Louie the Buoy.
Oh.
They had named this buoy in the Bay of St. Louis Louie the Buoy. My parents rebuilt in one rainy afternoon. The story popped into my head full blown. I wrote it down, and the rest is history. We've had a lot of fun with it.
And here are images, your wonderful collaborator, Mr. Morton, Tazewell.
Tazewell Morton III. He's a native of Gulfport, Mississippi, so we're very familiar with the Gulf Coast.
And we see what happens to Louie at one point, huh?
That particular page says all 4 feet were jerked out of the sand, and it was rolled over and over in the black, turbulent water. When I read at schools and read that paper, there's dead silence in the room. But it is a hero story, and it turns out that Louie thought he was a failure, but he was the last buoy standing in the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and he saved Lieutenant Manley of the Coast Guard because he was the only buoy standing. So it is a hero story. Shortly after that storm, partly this book was printed in China, arrived, the first printing arrived in New Orleans on the Friday before the Monday that Katrina struck. The Parenting Center immediately says this is a wonderful aid for children with hurricane anxiety, and so many kids had their schools were closed. They'd been sent out of town for months at a time. So, fair story. We quickly went into a second, third, and even fourth printing on that.
That's great news.
It's been a wonderful project.
Now, this now is the source of inspiration for an original composition. Tell us how this came about.
We got a call one day from one of the young women at the symphony when Carlos came to town.
Carlos Prieto,
the music director, Stephen Hales, who was chairman of the board at the time, said, I want to show Carlos a Vieux Carré, French Quarter house. Can we come over? I said, come on over for cocktails. And he told us about his 2 little girls then, and I was a 3rd child. I gave him a copy of Louie the Buoy. Every time we'd see him, he said, my children love Louie the Buoy, and I hear that so very often. Well, I get this call from the symphony that says, Carlos, for the 25th anniversary of the orchestra members becoming owners of the symphony, wants to employ a local composer to put Louie the Buoy to music very similar to Prokiev's Peter and the Wolf.
Oh, sure.
I said, oh boy. So we invited them all to breakfast. This is one of our, for Judy's well-known and famous buttermilk pancakes. If you'd like to come, someone and copy. And they were very excited about it. They had hired a young man. His name was Tucker Fuller. He's done a lot of the compositions for ballets, etc., that happened in the Marigny Opera House. Delightful young man, very nice. He went to Juilliard. He started at Juilliard in age about 10. Nice guy, very talented, very excited about the score. On the 21st, that's this coming Sunday, at 2:30, up on the Loyola campus at Roussel Hall, right on the avenue, there's going to be a real happening, I think. And while the orchestra plays this original score, Carol Sutton,
the wonderful
actor,
Carol Sutton, yes,
will read the story of Louie the Buoy. They will project all of the illustrations up on the wall. So it is just so very exciting.
Well, how that is very exciting. Congratulations. And of course, the book is available at all local bookstores and online, so folks can get their own copy
online,
as well.
And we I donated 100 copies of Louie the Buoy, which we signed the other day. They will be available to buy at the Symphony, all proceeds going to the Symphony.
And once again, for details, lpomusic.com. You can check it out online, too. But congratulations.
And also important, free for kids under 16.
Yes.
And all others are $15.
Such a deal.
Can't beat a bargain like that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you,
And we're
Peggy.
so glad you're here. And New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, Jane Sullivan named the Irma Thomas song that refers to the weather in its title, and another that mentions a certain season. It's raining and 2 winters long. Now tonight's question. Located across the street from each other on St. Claude Avenue, one serves specialty food and drinks. The other is a community center that also includes dining and shopping. Name them. Email your answers to steppinout@wyes.org. Our prizes: a year subscription to Louisiana Life magazine. And tonight we have an apron as worn by WYES intern Nora Donnelly with the message, St. Bernard, from our friends at wearablevegetables.com. You can visit, by the way, the WYES.org online and see an upcoming calendar of events, and including the Historic New Orleans Collection screening of the classic 1927 film Wings with improvised music accompanied by pianist Pierre Quevel. That's next Sunday. And you can link to our WYES YouTube channel to view our program on our homepage. And now, Errol, kind of an overview. It was a lovely holiday, didn't you think?
It was a good carnival. It was fast because it was so early. But and the weather, for the most part, held. It was a little cold toward the end, but it was good. We have some images to show?
Yes, we do, including one near and dear to your heart, or for anybody who loves City Park, huh?
Well, this was the, I hope we're at an age now when people are going to pay more attention to float designs. And Rex did a beautiful parade about the, called Royal Gardens. And this is one in particular I think a lot of people in New Orleans would have been excited about. This was to the garden in City Park, the Botanical Garden. And there at the front right there is one of those Louis Alvarez sculptures. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of shows the originality of Rex's work. Mm-hmm. They really care, and they really spend a lot of time designing and, you know, going to the park and doing a good job. I thought that was just, if I had to pick a float of the carnival, that would be it. Mm-hmm. Some other things I just wanted to mention is that, one, the emphasis on king cakes grows and grows and grows and grows to the point where there's even a king cake festival, which is it's a fundraiser for Oxnard. But
for the children's department, children's section.
And until that championship square, and it's good. I can't tell you how many king cakes there were, but there were a lot.
That's tiramisu. Yeah. That's a tiramisu king cake.
Yeah. But the whole art of the king cake is really, really growing. And you know who's becoming a major player now is the Vietnamese. That they're Vietnamese who are doing some really good things. And at first you say, well, that's unusual, but of course their influence would have been French. And so there's just so many creative things done in so many ways. And plus we're seeing the king cake vodka, the king cake ice cream. I don't know if I need all of that, but it's certainly growing. And that was the one merciful thing about it being a short season, that it was that kind of cut off. Okay. Want to mention in the parades, a good thing. Two good things are happening with the parades. I hope. Okay. One is I hope that the Advocates daily insert, where they're showing the parades and the designs and talking about that, is making people pay attention to the design a little bit more. And I hope that encourages the captain to put more design and to get away from all the fascination with these big old beads and stuff, and go back to the art of carnival. And there are several parades you could look back at and say that they're good, and they're very good. The other thing that I think is happening is we're getting better groups between the floats, and I think Muses really paved the way for that with groups like the Pussyfooters and the Elvine, that sort of thing. And to me, that brings real humor at the street level. I mean, it's one thing to have jokes on the float, but when you're right next to the people, it allows people to participate who may have not been able to afford in the past. And so more and more street level groups, and please more and more attention to the into the design.
And speaking of design, I know you wanted to mention Proteus. We can't forget the beauty of Proteus,
well,
and Mid-City and Mid-City
Proteus
Parade.
Is,
I'm sorry. I'm taking you out of order. Mid-City's before Proteus. Here we go.
Mid-City has always been a classic, and it's good that they picked the one called Sunshine, because Sunshine is such an element to the Mid-City Parade, because it is the only all-foil parade And the way that catches the sun and picks it up, it's like 2 or 3 guys who work on this all year. You know, it's not a big fancy parade, but boy, they put a lot of thought into the beautiful parade. And there's a mid-city look to a parade, and they're always one of the most beautiful parades. And perhaps, you know, in contention with Rex is the most beautiful of the day parades. Proteus, the night before Mardi Gras, also known as Lundi Gras, has 2 of the prettiest parades. One of them is Proteus, and Proteus did a beautiful parade on the Hindu gods. It was beautifully done, very respectful, an amazing parade, and anybody should be proud of that. Absolutely. I mention that because there was a little bit of buzz from somebody out there about that. But anyway, it's a beautiful parade, and if you read the descriptions, you learn a lot about the Hindu religion, okay? And if you read that, and anybody should be proud to have it, and I think Proteus should be proud to put it in the parade. And it's in the classic tradition of the old South. And look even on the little right-hand corner, how the sign cards, these are professional sign cards, you know. It's not just something slapped on, but it's a good parade. And then we also mentioned, I mean, because in the same night, you've always had Orpheus and Orpheus. You know, with Proteus, you have an old-style parade that's beautiful. With Orpheus, you have a super crew parade, but that borrows from a lot of the traditions of the old-style parades, and that claims, I think that they're right, of having the most flowers of everybody else. They do a great job with it.
And this was Mythological Beasts this year, one of my favorites, between Proteus and Orpheus. It was quite the night. But just all the details on the flowers, don't you think? You know, so many flowers and so well done, you know. And then also we want to just do a little bit of a postscript because we want to congratulate Carl Mack, who's he's not only a musician, but he does a lot of special events around town. But this year he was once again Queen of Satyricon, and anyone who's a fan of Erte, the artist Erte and Art Deco, this was it, the ultimate, you know. And one little postscript I wanted to add on is that I had the most delicious beverage at the King Cake event that Errol was talking about. It's a king cake shake, and yes, it's potent, but it was so delicious from Charcoals. It was from Charcoals right there in Magazine in Jackson, so check that out. I understand they serve it year-round. Now, though, thank you, E, it's time to reveal our Carnival Quiz winners from our Rex broadcast, the Rex Ball Mardi Gras night, and out of 290 entries, 191 had all 3 correct answers. Now, the questions are, and I'm going to ask Errol's help with this. Okay, quiz question number 1. On Rex's Boeuf Gras float, how are the maskers traditionally costumed? Air?
Butchers or chefs.
Chefs. Okay, great. Okay. Quiz question number 2. What is the name of the house orchestra for both the Rex and Comus balls?
The Jimmy Maxwell.
Thank you very much. Okay. Question number 3. According to mythology, who was the father of Comus?
Bacchus.
Okay, and our winners and our prizes. All right, Flo Weiss won the one-night stay at the inn at Homus House, including a guided tour of the mansion and a plantation breakfast for 2, along with a $200 towards dinner at the nationally acclaimed Latil's Landing, which is on the property. Thank you so much, Homus House. Jeffrey Barak won the fleur-de-lis intaglio heart pendant by New Orleans jewelry designer Mion Faget. It's engraved on the back with the anthem of Carnival, If Ever I Cease to Love, the most enduring anthem of Mardi Gras, of course. C. Leighton Ciaravolo, won the 2016 Rex Proclamation. This year's artist was Tucker Fitzhugh. And the Rex Proclamation is courtesy of the School of Design. Millie Munch won the 2016 Rex Parade Bulletin. Susan James won Errol Laborde's book, Mardi Gras Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival. Janice Trepanier won New Orleans Mardi Gras Moments by Judy Bottoni and me, thanks to Pelican Publishing for both of those books. And Cindy Burdett won the DVD of this year's Rex Ball. And we're going to be posting all those names at WYES.org, the winners on Monday, so you'll see that. And now, though, something very special. Let's hear from Janie Heck singing Waiting Around with piano accompaniment by Harry Mayronne from the musical Waiting Around. Let's take a look.
Now, working in a restaurant, I really shouldn't bitch. I've got a semi-steady job and all the food that I can snitch. I've got a regular clientele, all uptown dames and misters. I've got a head for names, a nose for wine, and feet with permanent blisters. I'm just a weary waitress whose feelings are mixed. Sometimes I think this lousy job should be 86th. But then again, I could be downtown selling shoes. Lord, I've got the black and white blues. I'm tired of working doubles on each holiday. I'm tired of getting stiffed, not in an interesting way. I'm tired of waiter nightmares each time that I snooze. Lord, I've got the black and white blues. Each night when I tip out, it only makes me laugh, 'cause 60% goes to the rest of the staff. So I go out to forget it and spend the rest on rounds of beer, go home, pass out, and wake up depressed. If I could get a real job, a true 9 to 5, with suits and ties and office lights, now would I survive? I often think it would be nice, for what would I lose? Well, I guess I'd lose my freedom and sleeping late on Mondays. I'd lose having money every night, even on a Sunday. I'd lose my tax evasion scheme. Uncle Sam just might find me. Hell, you know, it just ain't worth it. I'd rather have the black and white blues. I'd gladly suffer. I'd rather have the black and white blues.
Woohoo! Thank you both, and waiting around, the restaurant musical plays. It opens tonight, and it plays through March the 13th at Bayou Playhouse. That's in Lockport, Louisiana, and we're just so thrilled they could be with us then. And now, Alan.
Well, you know, when the Mayronne Opera House took over Holy Trinity Church in the Faubourg, it may have started a trend. And now, hot on the heels of last week's announcement that Anthony Bean was moving his theater and acting school to Gentilly at the site of the former St. Raymond Church, came the big announcement yesterday, and that is from Southern Rep that they were going to finally have a home after 4 years of being loosed on the world, as it were, and running around New Orleans trying to find a permanent home. That's going to be the St. Rose Lima Church on Bayou Road. Here's the very proud Aimee Hayes, Southern Rep's producing artistic director, who was one of several dignitaries and well-wishers on hand yesterday to congratulate the refitting coming up of the old church and what will be the newest theater in New Orleans starting in around 2018. On hand were Philip Manuel and Boudin. That was the group, of course, that they did last year at the Aché Theater. I mentioned, of course, that they also have a beautiful structure to move into there, St. Rose Lima. It's on Bayou Road, which is one of the oldest roads in New Orleans, going from the Portage, of course, down to the marketplaces, etc. And again, historic in many, many ways. It's going to be revamped and renovated and preserved with new office space, a 125-seat proscenium theater, a 65-seat black box for operating as well as a performing space that they have never had before, and plenty of room for further development. So it looks really like a wonderful fit. Again, it's expansive. It has incredible ceilings, and they'll probably be lowered a little bit by the architect. But you know, you have to expect that it's going to be. Well, you have to expect that some of those ceilings are going to have to be just because of how large they are. But the interior is remarkable. Yeah. It's in all in great shape. And I have to say that this was a done deal that was done by community people working hand in hand. There was Jeff Schwartz and his group, the Broad Community Connections. There was Councilman of District D, Jared Brossett, and several people who've gotten together to make this project into reality. It's being called Bayou Treme Center. And again, we want to thank them and hope that this will get off the building boards very soon and into fruition. I would say that if theaters are looking for a space when maybe a new song to sing, perhaps they'll think about one from My Fair Lady. get me to the church on time.
Okay.
All right. Now, meanwhile, we talked about Anthony Bean. Over at the Anthony Bean Community Theater, they have a really compelling work going on. It's a prison drama. It's written by Rain Denise Wilson and directed by Robert DeKey. You may remember he was in A Man Coming Through that was done Southern Rep. Wilson, who is not from here, hit the proverbial nail right on the head. She wrote this piece focusing on Baby Cockroach, played by Martin Batts Bradford. It is a story about a man who learns his craft from his fellow gangsters and thugs, like Murder, played by Damian Moses, a very menacing character. He's been incarcerated for a decade of his life, and he's now at a crossroads. And again, this prison drama deals with his story beforehand, with people like D.C. Paul telling their story as young men who are still free, and then, of course, they are incarcerated, they lose their freedom, they lose their jewelry, things of that sort, as you can see. When a parole board is convened, Baby Cockroach has to answer for his crimes and show repentance, which is very important. All of his street buddies show up, and they try to basically get him into a position where he can perhaps be rehabilitated. There's a truly excellent piece for kids, especially to teach kids about the dark path they could possibly be going down that involves drugs and violence. I'm going to say this is a really well-rehearsed, well-directed show, and again, a fitting piece to end the run of Anthony Bean's Theater on Carrollton, and I would tell you that if you get a chance to see this, please do see it. Now, meanwhile, over the Sanger Theater, the buzz is all about Lola's Kinky Boots. That's right. I'm going to say something that I have rarely said about a touring theatrical show, that parts of this touring show are even better than the one I saw on Broadway 3 years ago. Let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Price & Son spent the last century making a range of shoes for men. We will begin this century making a range of shoes for a range of men.
Porter, who played the original role on Broadway, but J. Harrison Gee absolutely owns the role of Lola, Simon of Claxton, if you will. The songs are some of my favorites from Broadway. Not My Father's Son and Hold Me in Your Arms, some really wonderful ballads, but Sex is in the Heel, Raise You Up, and Just Be are also fantastic dance numbers. Again, this is a great touring show. If you get a chance, go check it out. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have not heard really any bad words about it. Again, at the Sanger Theater, final shows are going to be on Sunday. Meanwhile, over at Mags 940, there's a party going on. It's Abraham Lincoln's Big Gay Dance Party. And I have to say, this work written by Aaron Loeb has some very good stars in it. Kate Kuhn, Kevin Murphy, Monica Harris among them. It's some difficult material. It's done in 3 parts. I found it to be a little bit of everything, but not necessarily something that I wanted in the big picture. It does talk about tolerance and acceptance, but unfortunately, it's not like Angels of America. It was not really that kind of a big show, but it did have some aspects to it that I thought were very important in terms of telling about acceptance, especially in a small community like Menard County, Illinois.
Thank you so much. Now time for quick picks. Allain.
Peggy, tonight the symphony, the LPO, at the Orpheum Theater at 7:30, a marvelous concert. An Israeli violinist, highly regarded, Mr. Gluzman. He's going to play Prokofiev for his main piece. He has another piece. There's also parts by Prokofiev, Ravel, and Adam. Wonderful night.
Okay, great. Poppy.
2 things. Golf and Vine, sustainable seafood and wine pairing Wednesday night, benefit for Liberty's Kitchen. Tomorrow night, 2nd annual Food for Friends benefit show.
Okay, Errol?
Well, Mardi Gras is mercifully late next year. It's February 28th, which means a year from tonight will be that first week in the parade. So we'll just be getting started a year from tonight.
Allain.
And my birthday is Mardi Gras too, so I'm looking forward to it. I wanted to mention that Justin Lee Miller and Leslie Caste, 2 veterans of Broadway, are going to be on stage at Two Lanes Dixon Hall in Sweeney Todd, directed by Michael Howard. I think everybody should get a chance to go see this. Sweeney Todd, what a fantastic show.
Okay, and check out my picks online in our calendar. And thank you all so very much, and thank you for watching. Good night.